Welcome to the BMW R1100 R1150 Maintenance Companion CD. During the next hour and 20 minutes we'll cover all the differences between the R1200 CD and the R1100 1150 series motorcycles. Let's begin with the fuel tank removal procedure. In this example we're going to be using a R1150 GS Adventure. You will not necessarily have to remove the fuel tank for all operations, but we're going to start out with this and go in order. Throughout this DVD you're going to see a showing of all the tools you're going to need. In this case it's a simple socket ratchet set. First you take off the seat. Next you pop off the single side cover, and after that you'll use a 6mm Allen wrench to remove the single bolt that holds the tank on. When the bolt is loose, make sure you hold on to the nut on the backside to make sure it doesn't fall in behind the electronic components. I used a plastic cup to hold the tank up, that way you can take off the hoses and wires that need to be removed as well. On the Adventure tank there's a quick release fuel line disconnect that you have to remove first. After that, 2 more fuel line quick releases and 2 vent lines, and then the electrical cable needs to be released. Then you can lift the tank off. Next we'll take a look at the fuel filter change. This is the same on all of the 1100 1150 series bikes. All of the tools you'll need for each of the particular operations will be shown as subtitles underneath the picture as that tool is being used. This is the same throughout the video. Turn the tank upside down and place it on something soft, and then begin to remove the tank plate. This plate holds the fuel filter as well as the fuel pump assembly. These little 6mm nuts are really delicate, and they use a nylock fastening system, so be careful with them. It's fairly easy to strip out the nut and get it stuck on the stud, and that makes it very difficult to get off later.
When we pull this off, it doesn't come out.
I imagine maybe I do, you know? I bet you if that light was on, because I really drained it till there was nothing coming out, and I just figured, okay, I'm exhausting one load, but there'll be some in the other, and I don't know how it balances out, but there must be some good something in there that does.
Before you remove your tank plate, make sure you put a mark on the plate and on the tank itself so you know what orientation they need to go back on.
Oh, enough. This is a photo.
Here's a view of the fuel plate lifted up. On the bottom right you can see a couple of vent lines that need to be replaced. We'll be tackling those next.
Now to get this off, we have to disconnect both of these.
Okay.
Usually you can take a pair of pliers and gently pull these off. Every once in a while they get really stuck on there and you'll end up having to take the clamp off. Those clamps are really difficult to get off, so it might take a little work.
Yes.
A lot of times what you have to do is cut these off and replace them with just regular hose clamps. There's no real pressure on them.
Okay.
So you can use a standard hose clamp. It doesn't have to be a fuel injection hose clamp. Some people even use zip ties.
As you're lifting this out, make sure that you don't bend the float arm. That can cause your fuel level to be inaccurate when you go to put it back together.
more than once.
Next we're going to remove the fuel filter. They use the same types of clamps that we were looking at earlier, and it can be a bit of a bear to get off. A screwdriver inside of it will pop it loose, and then sometimes you need a pair of pliers or side cutters to get it all the way off. Here's a kit the dealer put together that comes with a set of clamps, a new O-ring for around the fuel plate, and a new fuel filter. The clamps are special fuel injection clamps. Notice in this picture that I have the new fuel filter laid out on the table right next to the old one that's still on. Also notice that the arrows are pointing in the same direction. It's very important that they go that way. This is an example of a fuel injection clamp, the bottom one, and a non-fuel injection clamp, the top one. For the vent lines, the non-fuel injection clamp is fine, but for the fuel lines, you must use a fuel injection clamp to handle the pressure of the fuel.
Move these old clamps. Place the new ones. And you should put them this way. Makes it a little bit easier when you go to put it back in the tank so that these don't catch on the edge of the tank.
Yeah, alright.
Those go pretty tight.
Yeah, it almost uses all this left, doesn't it?
Yeah, usually they don't. Usually you should have a little bit left in there, but... Okay. This right here, and make sure that's all clean. I'm sure that's something they mentioned as well, to make sure that the contact is clean. Because you have two contacts, you have the probably negative, I'm not sure which is which, negative and positive side, so as it slides along there, the various resistance, because this has multiple strands of wire, it's hard to tell, but right there it's all multiple strands of wire.
Alright.
And as it slides along there, the resistance is different all the way through, so that's what gives it the height in the tank. So, one of the ways to make sure that's working good is to make sure these little pickups are tweaked and to clean those real well.
Here's a close-up of the way the contacts work together. Notice the clip that holds the fuel level arm on.
So let me get a pencil.
Here's an old electronics tip. You use the end of a pencil eraser to clean these contacts up, and it gives a nice, clean, slightly roughened surface that's going to last a long time and stay clean for a while.
I wouldn't know. Going through school, I never needed an eraser.
Again, notice the clips that hold your fuel level arm on. This is important because if they come loose when you go to put it back together, your fuel level won't read correctly.
Okay, can you see what I'm doing here? This does two things. It warms it up and it reshapes it round again because it was misshapen sitting in the bag. And the closer it is to the right shape when you put it in, the better, because otherwise it tries to pop out of the groove. Okay. Hold one. New one. This will, once you get this in place, it'll hold it in the groove. I don't expect it to stay right now because I'm going to have to put the vents back on it and everything. So.
Again, be very gentle putting this back in. Make sure that you don't knock the fuel arm out of place and that you put it in straight.
From here, fish these out again. It goes on the bottom.
We're going to try and reuse that.
We're going to try to reuse it. tricky to get back on.
I'm going to push that piece down with this.
Yeah. There we go. It's back on.
Next time that thing comes off, what are the odds of still using it again?
I wouldn't.
Pretty slim.
Yeah. Unless you can slide it off without removing it.
Right.
But this putting back on is just as difficult as it was getting off. There. I didn't mark it. So now,
Shame that they're evenly spaced.
yeah,
If there was one off, there would be no way to put it on right.
right.
As I mentioned earlier, you should mark your plate and your tank so you know the orientation to go back in. I forgot, so now I had to do it the hard way. I used a picture from the very beginning.
We've concluded.
Now you got to make sure that that O-ring hasn't slipped out of place. It's all the way in there. I always start these by hand. If you start them with a wrench, you could strip them right off the bat. So.
Do you ever kind of put a nut on and kind of run it backwards until you find the thread clicks in?
On a large one, sometimes that works best.
Okay.
Like this one doesn't feel right. See how that's going down nice and easy?
Yep.
Oh, this has got a little bit of crud there. Check again for the O-ring. It's a real pain in the butt. We'll turn it over and we'll verify it by dumping the gas down into that area before we put it on. Notice I'm not putting it tight at all.
A very gentle 7 Newton meters. These break off very easily.
Zip it up. Make sure there's nothing leaking out. And because of the type of tank you have, there's no way to be 100% certain that when it's totally full it's not
Sure.
going to leak, because
There's a lot more weight in it.
Now let's take a look at the air filter change. You have to do this with the seat off, but the tank is optional. You can do it on or off. It doesn't matter. If you have the tank off or on, doesn't matter, but the only tool you're going to need is a Phillips head screwdriver. That's it. Simply unscrew the two screws on there and the whole top will lift right off. Then you simply pull the old filter out,
Sure.
put a new one in.
Brand new.
I may as well.
Yeah, go ahead and knock it loose.
Protein.
Open your hand. Ooh.
Even if you're not technically due for a new filter, it doesn't matter. You should pull it out once in a while and take a look, especially after winter. Bugs, mouse droppings, and nests, all kinds of stuff can end up in there. You just never know.
Now the tricky part. You have to get these pieces right here
Yes.
into those slots. Looks simple, doesn't it?
First. Items out of your way.
But as you can see, it's not nearly as simple as it looks. There we go.
This one went on pretty easy. It can be a very frustrating process to get this on sometimes. Takes a little practice, but once you get those rear tabs in place, it'll just drop straight down.
Like that. And once you get the one down, then you tug on the back side here. If you don't have it right, that'll just pop right off. So,
Because this is plastic, don't tighten the screws too much, just snug them down real good.
because what usually happens is they don't get it tight here, and then when they go to ride it, the air sensor doesn't sense it right, and it runs bad. It makes a big difference. It's surprising.
In this section, we're going to show how to replace the gas tank, put it back on, and reattach all the components. The same tools are used to take it off, 6mm Allen, and a ratchet and an extension. This can be done with one person or two. If the tank is empty, it's not too bad to do it all by yourself.
Okay, just hang right there.
In this still shot, the arrow's pointing to the little round bungs that hold on to the front of the tank. There's a couple of receiving cups on the tank itself that you need to line with these and push them all the way on.
We need our green cup behind you up there,
Cup, oh yeah.
on top of the battery.
It seems like hours ago.
Go.
Okay, alright.
Do we care that these are not linked in right now?
No.
I will join you in not caring.
Here we're about to install the fuel line quick disconnects and the power couplings. Be gentle with the quick disconnects. You don't want to manhandle them too much, but you do need to put a little force to get them back together. Don't forget to squeeze the tab.
Oh, I see it. It kinked up on something. Has that got it?
Yep.
On the Adventure tank, we need to reconnect the crossover tube. Listen closely and you'll hear the quick disconnect pop when it snaps back together. Here we're making sure all the accessory power lines are out of the way so that we can drop the mounting bracket back in place, and we also have the vent tubes in the proper locations. It's hard to see, but right here I'm plugging the power connector right back together.
You want that mug in there?
Nope. We are in place.
Now I'm going to reconnect the two vent lines. You didn't get to see them come apart, but this is how they go back together. You want to make sure you get them correctly oriented. When you pull them apart, you leave the connector on one hose and the connector on the opposite side on the other hose so that you can get them together right.
Edit that out. Camera work. Okay, now up here we want to make sure these are in place, these rubber grommets.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Good.
Those rubber grommets are for the front fender where it mates up with the tank.
Wires on there, you're clear, we're clear.
When you're putting the tank bolt back in, make sure you hold the nut on the back side with your finger, then you can screw it right down in.
There's no wrench on the back side. It tightens itself, no problem.
What's that?
Once you get it snug down, the nut will stay in place on its own without a wrench. Here I noticed the crossover quick disconnect was rubbing on the tail lever, so we tie strapped that up out of the way.
It's interesting the way that lays.
And what is that you're putting
Just
on
a
there?
little bit of oil
Good.
that will make these go on and off.
And they won't break over
without
time. as
snapping, which is exactly what Bob did to his.
This was just up here somewhere.
Oops.
Yeah, I think I wore out the one connector for that black panel underneath the tank.
This section's not a complete demonstration of how to do the valves, but it's fairly complete in that it will show you all the differences between the 1100, 1150 and the 1200 series on the previous DVD. As with the others, I'll tell you which tools you need to use at the various stages along the way, but here's what they look like laid out for you.
Now let's see if I took it off. It's the only way I can get to that.
I would really have to consider putting that one back in.
What do you mean?
Oh, don't worry, we're not putting these back on.
Why?
Because we've got the other,
It's got a
the different
new type. Turtec?
Turtec. I guess Stanton's are supposed to be the way to go, huh?
Yeah. Well, you got the Adventure crash bar, so the Stanton's not nearly as critical. Your only danger zone is really right here.
And the thing I was thinking is that the Stantons wouldn't let you get to your spark plugs without taking them off.
Oh. They are pickier. You could sell these on the internet.
I'm just gonna keep it all. Like if I ever
So
sell
you
the
can
bike,
sell all the pieces.
I'll put it back to kind of stock, and then I'll sell all the good parts.
Lots of people do that. It's not a bad idea.
This bike used to be really cool. Into the hopper.
And I think, I don't know, but I think the new ones probably come with bolts, but we'll keep those aside just in case. Your toolkit come with...
Yeah, I got that thing. Oh, I might need to with this guy. He's a little lopsided, huh?
Really now, these were way too tight.
What's that?
The first two of these
We're
too
too
tight.
tight.
Or tighter than we need to be.
Yeah. Almost 7 millimeters. Or considerably tighter than that.
Sorry for all the background noise here. They were cleaning up while we were doing this and we didn't realize how much it would affect the video.
This will be the new tough guy looking
Those are cool. I wish they made them for the 1200. Better ones.
You'll notice as I get these out, they don't come all the way out. I just pull them a little ways and then the rubber catches on them. That's how I know when they're completely released, but you'll not know that until you give them a good tug.
Wow. That's surprising.
Also, I generally do the top ones first and then the bottom ones, and that keeps it from starting to leak until I'm ready for it. As soon as you break that cylinder cover loose, you're going to see a little fluid drop down. It's only a few teaspoons, but it looks worse than it is.
It is sort of. Primarily English. But I'd be happy to read it to you in German if you want.
You know German?
Enough to read this.
Now I tip the bottom of it out and let it drain down for a minute before I pull it all the way off. This keeps it a little bit cleaner and cuts down on the mess. You'll also notice that when I pan down, you can see a little bit of oil in the pan. That's all that drips out. It's just not very much at all. Also, the center gasket needs to come out of the way too. Here's what the head looks like with the cover off. You can see the cam chain on the bottom left. You can also see the valves and the feeler gauges that are put in right there. I'm going to show you how to put those feeler gauges in and what to look for on the cam chain in the next few scenes.
Right there.
What were you looking at?
See that line? It's
Uh-huh.
now facing straight out.
Uh-huh.
That's where you want it. When you do that, now notice these are loose, but these are tight. So we're 180 off.
But I don't understand. I understand that we're looking for lines to point in a certain way, but what does that mean? What's
It
happening?
means that the cylinder is at top dead center,
Cylinder's at top dead center. Okay.
and that makes both sets of valves loose here because they're fully closed.
You want to get
So-
back here and spin the tire?
Yeah, you spin the tire, and I'll tell you how to do it. Really, it's not so much spinning as it is bumping it against the gear. So do it in a like it's driving motion.
Okay.
Yeah.
And we do that, you know.
You need to put a little more muscle into it. There you go.
As if I'm trying.
The amount of distance that your rocker arms can go up and down.
Okay.
So this way.
Okay.
So that's your end play. We check the end play by putting feeler gauges up in here. When it's ready to be adjusted, that way you know that there's not any extra pressure on it. And yours looks really tight. So I'm going to start out with my little 6. That's tight. That one's good. Wow.
And what should they be?
0.005 to 0.0440. 0.040. It barely, minimum. Just barely. Yeah. Okay. If they were too tight, which they're real close, if they were too tight or too loose, you take this loose,
Right.
and this one, and this one, and this one, and you tap it up or down to get the exact amount of distance you need.
Okay.
Fortunately, you're right there, barely on the minimums on that one,
Okay.
which is, and this one is.
So why not take it apart and make it right?
It is right. It's at the minimum.
Okay.
It's where it should be. It's only going to get looser. It's not going to get tighter.
Is that okay? That's a good.
Yeah.
That's a good statement.
Yeah.
Well, that's a good. Yeah, whatever.
Well, when you're adjusting these valves, or when you're running them, there's some wear top and bottom just from the constant movement.
Okay.
And so your gap will eventually grow.
Yes.
And at some point in the future, you'll have to adjust it. Tighten it up.
because things kind of chipped away.
Yeah, they just wear, just a little wear.
So, what would the consequence be of it being too tight? Like, what would you experience for it to be out of adjustment either way?
If it was really tight, I mean, it'd have to be really tight. It would prevent the rocker arm from moving correctly. It would give a lot of resistance. And what I would expect to see at higher RPMs is maybe you'd float your valves. They wouldn't fully close and open because it couldn't move quickly enough. Okay. 0.006 intake. Commonly known as the Anton method. And exhaust. Oops. And the way you check these to see if they're good is you literally just grab it by the middle and slide it in and out. And if it's even, it's harder to do with his bars there. If it's even pull and even resistance, you're in good shape. That one's slightly loose. Same with this one, slightly loose. So we're going to go ahead and adjust them. Okay. To do that, 10mm wrench, 3mm Allen. First thing you do...
You got the Allen?
Yes. Oh. Break these loose, turn them back a couple of turns. Okay. Now they're all nice and loosened up. Oh man.
You put it a long way.
No, it's necessary to do it this way. Just like this. You let the gravity, now it's hitting. These bars are in the way. These bars are in the way. Okay, do this one first. You just let gravity bring it down, and when you find a spot where it keeps stopping in the same spot, don't let it move. Turn this tight. Pressure on it. Not too tight. Now the top one. This one, I'm going to have to do the old Anton method. Because you can't get to it. So you just don't put a lot of pressure on it, just nice and gentle. Keep stopping at the same spot. And you can see it pulls evenly. That means your valves are adjusted the same. It's more important to have them adjusted the same than it is to be exactly exact. I mean, we're within a couple of thousandths of an inch there, so it's very close, no problem. So now we'll do the back ones.
Awesome.
Same concept. Just let gravity do its job. I'll leave that one in. It's gotta go making all that damn noise. Fucking kids these days.
Believe that.
Then just test it, slide it in now. If the resistance feels the same top and bottom as it does,
You're in good shape.
you're in good shape. Now, very, very important. Don't forget to pull these out.
Oh man.
This stuff. It's a little dirty. Some people are of the opinion that this has to be totally dry before you put it on, and I'm backwards of that. I don't think that at all. I think it should be a little bit damp, actually. I've never had one leak except for when I screwed up putting the center cap or the center gasket on.
Mm-hmm.
Slick.
And you get an oil slick on your boot. So you put, can they see that?
Mm-hmm.
Put this in place. Make sure it's all the way on there. Then when you go to set this on, if you have to back off for any reason, pull it all the way back off and start again.
Okay.
Otherwise, that little donut's going to come out of place,
Yeah, and then you're...
and then it's going to leak. See, now something's not lined up exact, so I got to take it back off. And you see where that donut is?
Yeah, sure.
That's why you do that.
You get a shot of the donut. Take a second. The camera's slow. Awesome.
Okay. Try again.
That's gonna be sweet.
Here you'll see I use the extension to turn them down by hand. This keeps me from stripping out any bolts, and you can tell when you're cross-threading.
See, and there's a definite stop. You can feel it as you're putting them on, and that's where you stop. You don't go any further, like that. There it is, right there.
Because that's just all aluminum.
And you will strip it right out because there's a shoulder on that bolt that'll catch. See how little pressure I put on there?
Yeah.
Can't hear it click for a while. Okay.
In this section we're going to take a look at the throttle body sync, which is unique to the 1100 1150 series. I'll show you all the different steps that you need to take. Here's the tools you'll need. You'll need a twin max, a 10mm wrench, a pair of regular pliers, and a flat blade screwdriver. The twin max you can get at pretty much any dealer will have it for BMWs. This is called the big brass screw. It's used to adjust the idle circuits on both throttle bodies. I'm going to show you how to use this and how to adjust it during the upcoming segments. All sync adjustments should be done with the engine at least 3 bars temperature.
First thing we do is we run them in to see where they're at. There's one, there's almost 2, so you weren't in a full turn. You weren't out a full turn. Then we back it all the way out. And take a look. Not too bad.
What is that thing?
This is called the big brass screw.
Oh, delightful.
This is used to adjust the amount of airflow at idle.
Okay.
So we clean it up. See all the smuts that come off of it?
Check the grommet.
It's a technical term. We want to look at this rubber O-ring and make sure it's in good shape.
It's okay.
Some people like to put a little bit of oil on it.
Are you somebody? Or some people?
I'm a somebody. Sometimes. And that'll keep it from getting stuck as it goes in and out. And get that O-ring chewed up and then it won't seal properly. in. And you don't tighten it down tight, but you take it down until it stops gently.
Okay.
Not stopping gently.
And what was the purpose of kind of taking sort of
Putting it
a
in and
measurement?
bringing it out, just to see how much it's off on the other side initially. So now we're going to bring it back out 1.5 turns. There's a half, there's 1, there's 1.5.
Okay.
Now we do the exact same thing on the other side. This cable right here, where my finger is pointing, there's a cable down there. You're going to feel that one for slack as well.
Slack is the amount of deflection the cable has when you push on it. It should be more than 1 millimeter. Here we're removing the carbon canister hoses off to put on the throttle body sync hoses from the Twin Max. We do this on both throttle bodies.
Do you think so?
Okay. And then
Would you?
Next we'll set up the Twin Max to be used for balancing.
I go full sensitivity to make, see how it's off just a little bit? We want it on 0. There we go. We want to keep that centered as much as possible. Right now it's real close. So I'm going to adjust it a little bit to try to get it dead center. Okay.
Here I'm adjusting the throttle body big brass screw to make the Twin Max come out balanced. This balances both throttle bodies. I also will adjust these to get the idle up to the 1000 plus 150 XR.
Okay, now look.
This section we're going to show you how to do the off-idle throttle body sync utilizing the cables to make the adjustments and also making the Twin Max come out to 0, therefore balancing the throttles off-idle up to 3500 RPM.
It's the adjustment. Break it loose. And then you can adjust it like this. What I do is when I get it real close, I tighten it back up like this. And then I don't put it totally tight, but just lightly snug.
Mm-hmm.
And then while it's running, because as soon as you do that, you're going to throw it a little bit. While it's running, I'll stick this on like this, and I'll make my final adjustments, and that'll be snug so you don't mess it up. You see what I'm saying? As you try to snug down that nut, you tend to throw off your adjustment.
Okay.
And so
So if you
I
can
snug
check it
down
on
that
the
nut a
needle,
little
so-
bit,
Right.
and then I make my final adjustments with the wrench or with the pliers. And that way when you do the final snugging, it never throws it off. So we're going to do that right now.
Okay.
Adjust it so it's back to 0. Tighten it up a little bit. Now it's off just slightly. Off idle. A little higher. A little higher.
Those are the different steps you want to check. A little higher. A little higher. Right on all the way.
Again, all of the throttle body sinks should be done with the engine at least 3 bars. Sometimes it'll start to get hot, so you'll need to put some fans in front of the motor to keep it cool, especially if you take a long time to do these adjustments. Next, we're going to do the brake bleeds for it. This will flush the entire system out on any non-servo R1100 or R1150 bike. Servos are covered under the R1200 DVD. The tools needed include various wrenches, a syringe to draw the fluid out, and a bottle with a 1/4-inch hose. The bottle has some old brake fluid in it. That keeps you from sucking up air when you're doing your bleed. We're going to start the brake flush doing the rear wheel. We're going to flush out the fluid from the entire rear wheel circuit. Here's a close-up right now of some of the different components that you're going to be looking at. Up high is the rear wheel filler. The rear caliper needs to be removed to complete this procedure.
Making me look weak.
It's not necessary to remove the rear ABS sensor when doing this. Now we need to spread the pads out so we can put the shims in so that we can get all the fluid out.
Spreading the pads to get in the maximum width. We're going to use
These shims are just door or window shims that you can use for shimming up a door or window. You can get them at any hardware supply store.
bleeding. Okay. Too long.
Here we're going to remove the rubber cap from the brake caliper. We're going to add the wrench, and then we're going to put the plastic hose from the bottle up onto the caliper.
Just break it loose.
Now we're going to remove the cap and bladder from the rear wheel circuit reservoir.
When we get on this end will dictate how much that you need.
Mm-hmm.
Which in theory one should flush all the old stuff out.
Yeah.
It's obvious when you got good and bad fluid.
Okay, pump it up some more. Hold it. Now he's holding this while I'm releasing this, and you'll notice that the fluid's starting to fill through here. I have the other end of it into the fluid in here to keep it from sucking air back into it. So it keeps that, it never will suck more air that's in than that is already in the line. This is a way to do it without the speed bleeders. Alright, pump it up again. And what we're looking for is the color of the fluid to change to a lighter color. If you have access to it, you can actually change the color of the fluid. Get different colors of fluid to do it with. Okay. And I noticed on your bike, you have red fluid in yours. I have yellow.
We'll do this procedure until all the fluid comes out clean and you've got fresh fluid coming out. So this might take a little while.
Okay. And this is really just a standard brake fluid. It's not any different just because it's ABS. It may take a while because you've got to go all the way through all that.
Yeah. This is one of those that servos come in pretty handy.
Servo brake bleed's much
You
faster.
can get rid of some fluid in a hurry.
Yeah,
Especially with the
Watch
speed
your level there
leaders.
too, so.
yeah, I'm watching it.
When you've completed the bleed, you want to torque this little nut down, but don't torque it too tight. It's only 7 Newton meters, so there's not a very high amount of torque to it. Now we make sure the fluid level's right and put the cap and bladder back on the reservoir.
How much volume does that cap take? In other words, what level do you want the fluid to be at, and then you put that cap in, and is it?
If you put it at the max level,
Uh-huh.
and then you put the cap in, it appears to pull it up, but it doesn't really.
Oh,
All that rubber does is prevent air from getting into the system. And
Okay.
of course, it seals the.
In this section, we're going to remove the plastic hose. Be careful not to drip any of the fluid onto your painted parts, because if you do, you're going to have to clean it up right away. After that, we'll put the rubber cap back on.
okay.
The next step is to remove the wooden shims and then reinstall the caliper. The pads will be spread already, so it'll be really easy to put on.
Terrific.
Put in both bolts loosely first. Don't tighten either one of them until you've got them both started. I just snug the bolts lightly before torquing them.
Bolts on the skid plate. Maybe that's why I'm used to
What
always
was the
having Loctite
pounds?
out.
40.
40 Newton meters.
I like nothing.
Next we're going to do the front brake bleed. It's essentially the same as the rear. The difference is that we'll have to do both calipers on the front forks. Here we're removing the lower bolt for the front fender. This is to give us a little bit of room to get in there and put the hose in and get the adapter set up. Normally this isn't too hard to take off. Next we're going to take off the front calipers. Make sure you take out the 2 bolts seen here that are attaching the calipers to the forks. Don't undo the bolts that are holding the calipers together, or you're going to have a real mess on your hands. This has been done a couple of times. I'd hate to see you do that on your own. These bolts should spin pretty freely. There's no Loctite on them, so they come right off. Now you can just take the caliper straight off. It'll lift straight back. It gets a little bit tight in here, but it works out pretty well once you get it pulled off. Notice I go a little sideways with it to spread the pads. Now I'm going to turn it around so that I can get the shims in it. I like to use a tire iron to spread it because it's got a nice wide surface and it won't damage the pads at all. Get it spread as far as you can, and then we'll install the shims. These are the same shims that we used on the rear wheel, and they work just fine up front as well. I usually do just one side at a time, that way I can use the same shims over and over. Make sure you push the shims in as hard as you can to displace as much fluid as possible. While you have the caliper pulled loose, it's a good time to take a look at the pad thickness. The minimum thickness is 1.5 millimeters. On the front, a little easier to see than the back, but usually you can tell both of them without pulling the pads off.
I was gonna say even like a putty knife with a wider edge
Yeah.
would have.
You have to be real gentle with it. You just don't want to scratch the
A Phillips head screwdriver takes this off. Make sure you get all the fluid off of it before you lift it up so you don't get fluid all over your bodywork.
This is just to keep it from spilling out all over everything.
Here I'm drawing out the excess fluid so we don't have to pump it through the system. This makes it go a little bit quicker. Notice we tucked rags all around it to keep from spilling. Here we're going to add some fluid in there. We want to fill it up as high as we can. We're going to have to add fluid several times along the way too.
It doesn't usually take this many people to do this. If you're doing it by yourself, fill it slightly less than that, put the cap back on it and just set it on it. Because when you pump, go ahead and give it a squirt. See how it does that? Do it again. If you pump a little harder, it squirts higher.
One more
so you
time.
got to be careful.
Okay.
Okay.
Now we're beginning the brake bleeding by pumping up the pressure on the front calipers. I'll show us pumping, and then in a minute I'll show us how we bleed it.
Tell me when you're ready.
You want to pump it slow but full. You want to get a good full pump on it.
Okay.
At the top, he's holding it while I'm opening and closing the valve. Don't release the pressure until after I've closed the valve.
And you want to pump a couple times.
Yeah, it's nice and
Yeah, smooth. There you go. Yeah, see how it's getting hard?
Okay.
That's better.
I see. All right. I'm slow, but I get there.
Now on the brake master cylinder, you'll see him pull in the handle and hold it until I tell him it's okay to release it, indicating that I've released it, or tightened the valve.
Fluid at all?
yeah, we're getting close.
Okay.
I got it. I
Right.
hold it.
Okay. It's filming.
Okay.
All right. That's it.
Let's add a little bit of
Top it off.
fluid.
Good.
Once again, we need to top off the master cylinder. We're going to do this several times along the way. We'll take it all the way up to the top.
Okay. Did you feel it really full?
Just to the top of the glass.
Okay. Put the lid on, and we'll show them how to do it without the second person there.
I see. Okay.
And when we put the lid on it, hopefully it won't. It's not too full, so it doesn't come out the edges. And then hold it down while you're pumping.
Just put your finger on top of it.
Hold it down. While.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's all you got to do. Nothing drastic.
Just like that, yeah.
So as he pumps and holds, we continue to bleed the calipers until the fluid comes out clean.
Run it from that side probably.
Okay. Oh, some kind of came out there. I think.
Around the edge.
Well, maybe not. Maybe I just moved the towel. All right.
Okay.
All right.
A little bit more. It's coming pretty clean.
All right.
I might be overdoing it a bit, but I want to make sure we get it all the way through everything. So
That's it. That's the way to go.
we got plenty of fluid, so.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, Tina.
Okay.
I'm not rushing you, just let me know.
Gotcha. I'm about as good at this as I was at video games in high school.
It's not easy for anybody.
No, it's...
Okay. That's good.
Okay.
I'm hardly doing anything different from the time that it... Okay.
Yeah, just a couple pumps is all it really takes.
Okay.
Can you feel it collapse when I let?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, Ray's getting hit.
No, I haven't gotten hit yet.
So how's the fluid looking, Jim?
Okay.
It's still a little dark, but it's lightening up. You can see it already. How dark that fluid is down there.
Okay.
One more time and then we'll just run that shot.
All right.
Keep in mind you need to do both sides, so as we finish up here and we go on, we've assumed that we've already done the other side as well. Now we've set the fluid level up so it's at the top edge of the sight glass, and we're going to put the cap back on. Make sure you clean it up real good before you put the cap on, and then put the screws in lightly first.
And you don't put them real tight. I'm pushing down on it hard, but I'm
But
not
you're
turning them
turning
tight.
it. Yeah.
That's so I don't strip them out, because these do tend to strip pretty easily.
You want just enough, but not too much.
Okay.
Now we reinstall the front calipers. It's pretty much the same thing as we did with the rear ones. We pull off the wooden shims. Then just place the calipers over the rotors and make sure they're lined up. Like before, you just want to put the bolts in finger tight to start with. You don't even tighten them all the way down. Get both of them started before you torque them down. Then I snug them down by hand with a wrench, not too tight, and then after that I'll torque them down. Next I reinstall the fender bolts. In this case there was a lot of crud in there. As it turned out, it wasn't crud at all, it was a little bit of Loctite. So I had to clean out the threads by chasing it in a couple of times, and then I put some more blue Loctite on it before I tighten it down. Once you're done with both sides, you're done with your brake bleed. Congratulations. Now I'm going to show you how to do an alternator belt change. This should be done every 36,000 miles. Some people like to do it a little sooner. I personally change them, or at least check them, at 24,000 miles. It's a very simple procedure, and it does not require any special tools, despite what BMW says. As you can see, the tools that I use: an Allen wrench to remove the cover, a 13mm wrench to loosen up the bolts for the alternator, and then I use either a screwdriver or a tire iron to pry up on it to get it tight. Here's a shot of the cover that you're going to have to take off when you do the belt. There's 4 bolts, 2 on each side. They are 4mm Allen bolts. These bolts are small, going into plastic, and are not very tight, so don't worry about it. They come off real easily. There are 3 13mm hex nuts that need to be loosened up. They don't need to be removed, just loosened up. Finally, we loosen up the top nut, and that'll allow the whole alternator assembly to slide down a little bit. You'll see here I squeeze the belt together a little bit, and that slides the alternator down a little bit more. That makes the belt a little easier to get off. Here you can see what happens to a belt that's been on just a little bit too long. Not only does it have a piece of the belt that's separating on the side, it's got a few other problems as well. Even though it's hard to see in this picture, the belt actually has a lot of dry rotting in it, and you can see little cracks along the edges and in the middle between the grooves. This is a non-BMW belt, so it's slightly shorter than the original belt and makes it slightly more difficult to get on, but it works just fine. Normally when I put these on, I'll use a screwdriver, flat blade, and pry up from underneath. The Olin shock is a little large, so it doesn't give me a good angle at it, so I tried twisting it. When doing this, I'm very careful not to put the blade over top of the Hall effect sensor wiring that's right below the alternator. Then I just tighten up after I've got it pulled tight, and I'll check the tension on the belt. When checking the belt, I give it a twist. If I can easily turn it more than 90 degrees, then the belt's not tight enough and I need to retighten it. This time I use a flat tie iron, which will let me get in there a little bit further and give me a little bit better angle and leverage at it.
That's better.
Now I simply tighten up all 3 bolts to 20 Newton meters tightening torque. Next I clean out any debris and I put the front cover back on the engine. Next we're going to do a final drive fluid change. It's a very simple procedure that you'll find goes very quickly. Just takes a few simple tools. The only thing that I forgot to put in here was the aluminum foil. You'll need a little bit of aluminum foil as well. The final drive I'm doing today is on an 04 Rockster, but you'll find that it's exactly the same on all the different models of 1100 and 1150s.
First things first, make sure this can be removed. Alright, got that loose. So now we're good for refilling it. In case we can't get the bottom, in case we get the top on, we can't get the bottom. That one is easy enough too. Alright. When we do that, we want to make sure that oil's not going to go on the brakes. There we go. Doesn't take much. Let's pull that top one all the way out. And now we pull the bottom one out.
There's only 0.23 liters of fluid in there, so it drains out pretty quickly. Here's a look at the drain plug. It's a magnetic type, so it'll collect up any metal shavings or anything on it. In just a second I'll show you what it looks like when you try to clean it off. Here's the drain plug. I usually clean it off with just some paper towels.
Let's take a look at what we got on here. Nothing. Just the typical shavings. Nothing of substance. It should be smooth and creamy feeling, and it is. Let's clean it up. Move all of it on there. See how clean it is? We'll take this off and we'll put a new one on. Alright, new one. We're just waiting for it to finish dripping. Let it get all out. Way. Alright, tighten to 23 Newton meters. And we're ready to fill it. Just fill it up. You can measure it or just pour it.
I stop regularly to check to make sure the fluid level is not too high and to see how close we're getting. It's a pain in the butt to try to draw out the excess fluid, so it's easier to do it this way. Here's what the fluid level should look like. It should be not at the bottom of the threads, but at the little stepped piece of metal that's at the base of the threads. The fluid level should be right there. Now we just install the filler cap and we'll torque it down as well. I generally try to use fresh crush washers when I can.
And we're done.
Lastly, we're going to take a look at the spoke check. This is an extremely simple process, but it's important to make sure you do it correctly to make sure that your spokes are always tight. Basically, the spoke check is nothing more than tapping it and listening for a ring. You want to have the rings sounding very similar to each other all the way around. They don't have to be exactly the same, they just have to have a nice non-dead sounding ring to them.
Wow, I can't make it get quiet.
Since none of these spokes were loose and I don't like to loosen them, I just wanted to hold it and make it sound like it were loose. Next I'll show you the whole procedure all the way around. That's what a dead spoke sounds like, so you know what to listen for. Here's what the spoke adjuster looks like. There's a small Allen set screw in the middle of it, 3 millimeters. To adjust it, just loosen the set screw and turn the Torx. Turn it until you get a similar sound as the rest of the spokes. After you've adjusted it, you retighten the set screw. It's just barely snug, no tighter than just barely snug. There is no torque specification that I could find for it.
Yeah. Alright, go ahead and off.
I didn't actually do any adjusting on any of these spokes. It's a bad idea to loosen a spoke. You should only tighten them. So as you're doing this process, you will never loosen a spoke, you will only tighten it. This completes the DVD. I'd like to thank Kermit, Paul, Tina, and James for allowing me to use their knowledge and their bikes to make this DVD possible.